Hello, today we're talking about the phase of grief called anger. And I think it's safe to say we're all very familiar with this phase. And anger is a natural part of our life. It is an energy within us that either wants to create or destroy, and sometimes it wants to do both. Often, though, we associate anger with destruction, hurting other people, hurting ourselves, ripping things apart, breaking something, being reactive, because we tend to see that when we're growing up. We tend to be raised by parents who don't really know healthy ways of dealing with anger, and so it's either the hold it all in till I implode or let it all out as I explode. And again, it's that soda bottle that we shake up and shake up and shake up, and as soon as we let the top off of it, so the way I like to look at anger is we've got to figure out how to open the cap of that soda bottle a little bit at a time. Because anger is normal and natural. It is that response we have when things aren't going the way we wanted to, we don't have control, we don't like what has happened to us or happened to someone else. We believe an injustice has occurred. Something is not right. Something is not how it should be. So that anger, we also know, is just the top level soil of what's really going on deeper. Our sadness, our fear, our anxiety, the feeling of instability, of uncertainty. But we feel the phase of anger. So when we look at anger as this energy that wants to destroy or it wants to create, I want you to think about times in your life where you've experienced anger and which side you tend to go to. Do you tend to create out of this inspiration of, I'm going to make a change from this. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to create art or music. I'm going to develop something that helps other people. And this is really where musicians and artists thrive, is through the phases of anger and sadness. They're able to share their stories in different ways, and we relate to it because we understand that feeling. We understand what it's like to be so angry at the world or angry at someone or angry at ourselves. And so we love to listen to those songs when we feel those ways. It strikes a chord in us. Or when we look at art that it just seems very reactive, we just think, yes, that's how I feel today. That's how I feel in my life. So artists know these feelings and they put them out. They create with them. There are several organizations in the world that came from the anger and frustrations of what was going on because of a loss, because of change, because of injustices occurring. And so creating things can be just as beautiful with anger. And yet there's this side that wants to switch to the destruction piece. Now, somewhere along the lines, we started to associate destruction with harming others because, again, that's how it became modeled. Instead of destruction being something healthy. We have seen how fires have impacted the world this year, but even years prior. And when you look back, over 10 years ago, lands that had fire throughout them, and you see what new things were able to grow from that. You're able to see what was created after the destruction. You do start to understand that destruction does need to occur to some level. So I think about the Aboriginals in Australia and how they knew that their lands needed to be scorched in order to create a good harvest in years to come. They understood destruction had to occur for a new creation. And we're going through that in 2020. There's a lot of things that are having to be destroyed in order for this new creation of new ways of thinking and new ways of being, new ways of doing things, new ways of connecting. So, when we think of destruction being harming other people, harming ourselves, breaking valuable things we want, tearing things up that we need later on, that's a very one-sided view of the destruction nature of anger. What I'd like to teach clients is there are things that we can be doing that create that same feeling of destroying and releasing the energy in healthy ways. Something as simple as an old newspaper you're not going to be reading and just ripping it up, letting it all out, destroying it. That can be really relaxing. It sounds silly, but if you've decluttered recently, you know this. There's something about decluttering, getting rid of stuff from seeing it in your mind's eye, like seeing it all around you going, it's gone. There's this feeling of destruction, of releasing, getting rid of, that also has the same effect. I find that going for a run and exercising is a great way as well to release that energy of destruction, of reactivity. Now, we're not destroying our bodies, hopefully, while we're doing that exercising, but we are releasing that same level of energy with the adrenaline and the endorphins that need to be released to help us to feel better. I really like to create anger art with my clients, young and old, when it comes to anger. So when you're in this phase, a great way to do this is to take some sheets of paper and use, you can use colored markers, you can use pens, pencils, whatever you have around, and literally fill the pages with everything that makes you angry. Everything you can't say to that person that you need to say. Everything you want to say to yourself as well that you're frustrated at. And maybe you repeatedly say it in your mind, but you haven't gotten it out. So you put it on paper. The things you're unhappy with in the world. Why is this happening like this? I don't understand. This makes me angry. Fill up as many pages as you can, just on one side. And then grab a bowl or a bucket. When I did this recently, I needed a bucket. And just rip up the pages till they're about pieces about this small. You'll see you can't really follow anymore what all the words said before, but just rip it up. I will say when you're writing, you'll find a point where your mind kind of goes blank, and that's when you know you've gotten out what you need to in that moment. So you rip up those pages and you have them into the bowl, and then I want you to think of an image, an outline of something you would like to create. When I did this recently, I thought of a butterfly, which is really interesting because that tends to be connected with grief, that we grow from it, we experience this change. And so I got a larger piece of paper and I drew just the outline of a butterfly, and I used some chalk for the center, and I got glue. You can use regular glue, you can use stick glue, and I just created this almost mosaic, this collage of all these words and pieces of frustration, and filled in the butterfly's wings. I let them be that creation of something beautiful from all these things that really made me angry. And it's a piece of art that I have right above me. You can't really see it very well because of the microphone. I'll take a picture of it for you later. But this art is something I'm not going to put in my living room for everybody to see, but I keep it up for me to remember in my office that from anger, both destruction and beauty can come. That I can destroy and get it all out, get frustrated and rip it all apart, and then I can create from that. So we have to be really smart in our phase of anger, of what we are destroying and how we are creating. And some of that is just slowing down our reaction time. Now that's hard. Believe me, I get it. It's so much easier, especially if you have kids, to just be reactive and blow up at them when you are frustrated, or at your partner, or if that friend gets on your nerves, to just ignore them and let it go and build up all this anger inside. I get it. It's easier to go the easy way. But when we do that, we're not really going on our journey so much. We're taking the easy route that gets us out really fast, and we escape the fact that the anger's still there and it needs a healthy way to come out. Now, when you do this art, or if you do any type of activity that helps with anger, you're going to find that every couple months, maybe less than that, maybe every couple weeks, you need to do this activity. It just depends on how much the anger has built up inside of you. That doesn't mean you didn't do it right the first time. It just means that there are probably years of anger inside of you that really need to come out. So this phase of anger, which hits up our fight or flight mechanism, that desire to attack or run, is something we all need to learn how to cope with better and to understand its purpose. It does teach us a lot. It helps us really understand the better version of what the world could be if we learn how to take this anger, this frustration, this irritation with what's going on, and destroy in healthy ways and create in beautiful ways. So I'd love to hear, how has anger impacted your life? How do you usually let it out? And what are some steps you're willing to take to allow it to come out in healthier ways.